thank you to our sponsors, K. Flynn Insurance, Elect Bruce Becker for the Lincoln County Fire Board, and the Crafty Midwestern Mommy for their continued support of the Lincoln County Podcast. Hey guys, welcome to the Lincoln County Podcast today. Got another amazing guest. Thank you to everyone that's been supporting, liking, sharing, and sponsoring, commenting. We're getting a ton of great feedback. And for all you guys coming up chatting with me on the street about it, I really appreciate it. We're really having a lot of fun and getting to feature a lot of great local businesses and talent. So I'm going to turn it over to my guest to introduce herself, and we will get started today.
Hi guys, my name is Tayler Cooper. I'm the owner of DawnTayler Boutique in downtown Troy. We are a contemporary women's clothing store. We specialize in multiple different styles, but anything from Y2K, Western, we do hints of bohemian. We also specialize in hats, lots of different jewelry and shoes. And we are located in the heart of downtown Troy. So we collaborate with several other businesses in the area, and we like to bring value to the community by supplying our women with fun pieces that fit them great and great customer service. So I think that's about it.
No, yeah, you covered everything. No, it's awesome having you on. And I have to say, I told you this when we talked one time in person, that when I first, when your stuff first started popping up on my Facebook page, I was looking through it, and with your setup and everything that you've got, I didn't realize you were local. I was like, oh, this is weird. It's popping up. And then someone else commented or shared it, and it popped up again. And I've kind of learned with clothing websites. I had a run-in one time where I ordered some stuff online for my wife, and it was like I don't want to say fake, but it was one of those where there's like 12 different names for it. But if you click on different ones, it's obvious it's the same copy and paste model stuff. And I had noticed a lot of yours was always you. And I was like, oh, this must be local. And just kudos to you, because it looks so professional and so awesome.
Thank you.
I really didn't realize it until checking into it a little more. Like, wow, this is like right here in town, and you got such a cute little store.
Thank you.
How long have you been open?
So we started off as an online store about 6 or 7 years ago. And, I just started this out of my basement in my house. I started with one rack. And then I grew this into a 6-figure online boutique. And then I got the idea to start a storefront. And I already lived in Troy, and I found this beautiful space. And so, I guess to answer your question, 6 years online, and then we've had the storefront space for, 2 years now.
That's awesome. And is that like always something you wanted to do? Or
No, not at all. Yeah? I wanted to focus on online, and I definitely did that. And I attribute a lot of my success with the storefront to the online store, because, not to downplay downtown Troy, but Troy is a small town, and it's growing, and there's not consistent foot traffic like there would be in the city. So you have to have a reason for people to come down there, and you have to drive foot traffic. So that's kind of my success, is just bringing people and making them excited about the pieces, so where they will make the drive to Troy, or they'll come out and actually shop in person.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that when people think Troy, they're not realizing that we have a ton of great shops on Main Street, but we have stuff like the fashion style that you carry there. And like we talked the other day, the quality is awesome. I love the jeans. I got Casey, and several ladies I know wear them, and they're not, it's not hokey. It's a really good quality product, and you've got a great style that fits a lot of people, and you're able to help them with that in store, which is awesome. It's nice that we have stuff like that locally, and that people do frequent that.
Mm-hmm. I absolutely agree. And also back to what you were saying about having a consistent model that, is a legitimate person, and that you can base your trust off of. That's huge in the boutique world. So you'll see on those, I want to say Chinese websites.
Basically,
You're basically
exactly
trying to describe earlier.
Yeah.
They oftentimes steal photos from boutiques and steal photos of models that often model with boutiques, and then they will make their own take on it. So you're not getting the same item in the mail.
No.
It is a cheap knockoff of it. May last you one wash or whatever, but you think that's what you're getting in the mail. So when you have a reliable model and like someone that you know and trust, and that isn't going to, I guess, BS you on
Yeah.
how things fit. Like it's really nice to have that, and especially locally. Um, and like you said, I do try to bring like fun styles that you don't often see to Lincoln County as well.
Oh, and I think that's been a big part of your popularity with all the ladies I know. I mean, they absolutely love you, and they also tag and support a lot of the outfits,
Yeah,
and they look great. And it's
I know.
not,
And it's pieces that they normally
yes,
probably wouldn't grab for that me and my employees try to encourage people to try on. Like, okay, I know you've never worn anything like this in your life, but you should really try this jumpsuit. I think that this would look really nice on you and be perfect for the wedding that you're going to or the concert that you're attending. Concert season is huge for me. Wedding season's huge for me, just because of the specialty items that we do carry. And I love being known for that.
yeah,
Or another good example is family photos.
yes.
Like when people are getting their family pictures done, they want to wear like a cute bohemian dress or, something that makes them feel pretty. And they'd normally, like, they'll try to find stuff like that on Amazon, but it's really hard to find things that fit you right the first time. And then you're sending back like 7 dresses.
See, and that's one thing that I'm 41. I'm still adjusting to the fact of buying clothes
Hmm,
online.
right.
I've always been a clothes hound. I love my clothes. I would always go to the mall or go to there was always stores, something like, might get off work on a Friday, run out, get some new jeans, but you could go, you could try it, you could touch it. That's kind of being lost nowadays. And that's not a bad thing,
Yeah,
but it's also great. You have an awesome online presence, but then you do have the store that people can come in. And
right.
I would say that's probably a great thing with Lincoln County because this is an area where I could see people wanting to come try it on
Oh,
more.
yes, absolutely. They, and they'll say it when they walk in the store. They'll be like, I've always wanted to shop with you. I just really have to try clothes on. And I'm like, girl, I get that. Like,
Hmm.
I entirely get that. And I was telling a lady even earlier today when I was at the storefront that when I was online only, I did not understand different body types. I did not understand the struggles that women go through until I had the storefront, which
Yeah.
is amazing that I've learned that. And I try to instill that into my employees like, okay, well, a girl with this certain body type really favors this type of dress. And, where it fits through the chest or it fits through the bottom half, like whatever their not issue, but like something that they're sensitive to,
Yes.
it would make them more likely to purchase it and wear it again.
Well, if they're self-conscious about their midsection, you don't want something that's tight.
Mhm.
There's different things, and interacting with someone in person, you can kind of feel that out.
Right.
You could talk to them. What do you like with this? My first job was at American Eagle selling clothing,
Really.
and I actually loved it. And I looking back on it, the one manager ran me off, just made my life hell, and I couldn't
Yeah.
figure out why.
That's the worst.
But for me, looking back on it, I was really kind of shy,
Mhm.
so I would talk to grandmas. Well, grandmas would bring your
Grandmas. Yeah.
they'd come in, bring your grandkids in. Well, I didn't realize it. I was destroying it. Looking back as I learned things in life, I realized different comments and things he made. I was kicking his ass in sales because these little grandmas were spending
Yeah, and
$600, $700
they're the
on.
ones that have the money
Yeah, they
too.
were dropping. Oh, my grandson just loves this, or my granddaughter loves that. They just drop money on it. But I ended up working on the women's side of the store more, and women look for such different things in
Oh
clothing
yeah.
than men do, but you got to talk to them. What are you looking for? What is your event? So that's one of the great things. You've helped me several times with picking stuff for my wife. I'm like, I like the look of this stuff, but I don't think she would rock this or this,
Mhm.
or you'll post something, an outfit you're modeling. I'll be like, I don't think she'll do that, but she might do this. And you're able
Mhm.
to help me find things for her. And sometimes I
Right.
nail it. Sometimes I miss it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's important to be open. I always tell people I'll hold up a garment and be like, okay, how do you feel about it? Like, I promise you're not going to hurt my feelings if
Yeah.
you say that you hate it. If you think that it's the ugliest thing that you've ever seen in your life, like, tell me. That's totally fine. I won't get you other styles that are like that. If you show me something that you like to wear on a regular basis, I'll just find you things that remind me of it and
Yeah.
kind of go from there. But that's not something that I would say comes natural to every person. It's something that you have to learn over time. And like you were saying, when you were younger, you were shy and like you didn't really know how to sell to people. You have to learn how to sell to people and sell to women specifically that are more like my age, like in their upper 20s, that are having babies and their
Yes.
lives are changing. They don't have, the same body that they were used to dressing when they were in high school. And, it really does affect women and their mental health, and they want to feel good. And also, they want to feel good. They want it to be good quality and it lasts and also not break the bank too.
Yes.
And that's why I try to focus on styles that are at least like 70 or 65 or less mostly. And I would say my most expensive things in the stores are probably shoes.
Yeah.
I have some shoes that are like 90, but other than that, everything is like around like 65 or less.
Well, and knowing your clientele too,
Hmm.
knowing where you're at, who's going to want to buy, and from your experience in it, what sells.
Hmm.
Are $300 jeans selling? No,
No.
no, you got to find something that's affordable that people are going to get their use out of and enjoy and wear, and that's a good price point. And see, that's smart. That's something a lot of businesses don't get. What what do you feel is something that having with because so I've talked to people that have in-house businesses, talked to people that have online.
Mhm.
It there's not a lot of people that are running both.
Oh,
So
it's hard.
that's big. What is some of the big differences between the two that you've learned?
Oh my Lord. It is not like, oh my gosh, so different. And I did not know that when I went into it. I thought that, oh, well, I'll just have this storefront and like have select hours and it'll be okay. It'll be just like running the online store. No,
No, not at
it's
all.
like having a newborn baby. It's down to thinking about like taping down the rugs in the store, like supplying like good dressing rooms, making sure that you're buying bags and staying on top of bags and like even down to watching the cameras, making sure that things aren't being stolen, doing inventory counts. Um,
Yeah,
like,
and you've got a lot of stuff in there too. The
yeah,
last time I was in there, you had added, I think you had quite a bit more than one of my previous visits. So you got a
yeah.
lot of stuff to keep track of
Oh,
for
yeah,
what would be considered a smaller space. That's a
yeah.
lot.
My storefront is only like the front of it is, I think, like 700 square
Yeah.
feet. It's really little. I jam pack it really well. Like, I learned how to like basically go up instead of like out because I don't have anywhere to go out. Um, but that's basically how I maximize it and get the most bang for my buck with the type of rent that I'm paying. And um, I mean, I really love the look of the store, and I think that we've done a really good job at that. But that's another thing. You have to learn how to map out your store and how you want to merchandise it. Changing the mannequins at least every like other week is. I know it doesn't seem like it takes forever, but it takes me a couple hours. And
Hmm.
that's the stuff that I didn't think about having a storefront. I was not ready, not prepared to spend the type of hours that I spend on the storefront when I was just online only. And that's kind of why I've gotten recent employees and I'm trying to delegate better than I have before because I was the one running the storefront forever. Um, which is good and bad. Like everybody walks in and they want to see me because they know me and they're comfortable with me and they know that like I basically am the face of the brand and like I know everything about the store and about the garments and whatnot, but I have to be able to delegate that to younger employees. And so teaching people how to have those attributes is, not as easy as I thought it would be. You really
No,
have to
it's
teach
not.
them how to sell and like care about what people are saying.
And in this day and age, getting them to care is really
Oh
hard.
yeah,
People
especially
people want to show up, get paid, but then having to truly care or care about it. And it's hard as a business owner because they're not going to care as much as we do.
oh never.
But they gotta care to a point. That was something I really have always struggled with because even when I did work for someone else, I took personal pride in everything I
Mhm.
did. So I would go over and above for stuff. Whereas having to coach grown adults to do that it's tricky. And like you said, people think you're the face of it. I
Yeah,
was recently training a bunch of my instructors to teach, and the only way for me to train them is to have them teach and me supervise.
right.
Well, I would be at the front desk on the computer doing work. I'm not playing video games, but people would be, you're not teaching. I pay for your time.
Oh yeah, like
Okay, well, I'm here. Like I could be at home doing this. I have the place is staffed with employees, but people do. So finding that give and take is hard. And
it is hard.
I could see that really well with you because so many of your clients have such a bond with you
Right.
that
Yeah.
when they
And I
walk in
love
and it's someone
that.
else, they're like,
Who's this?
yeah.
She doesn't know me. But at the same time, it's uh, almost like what you said. They're paying for your time. Well, the thing is, like, you're not just like an open resource all the time. Like, you're not just like, I've had people come in and they want to talk my ear off about business and they want to know everything about me and everything about the way I got started. And it's just like, I love you guys. I respect you. Like, I really love being here at the storefront, but I need you to
Too.
respect me.
I got
You
work.
know,
Yep.
I got to focus. I got to answer these emails. I got to post online because I haven't yet delegated my marketing to the younger
Oof.
employees yet. I'm just now getting to the point where I'm like letting them loose in the storefront. Like, I
Yeah.
have a worker working right now. So,
No, and that's a big step. I remember when doing that with martial arts school, I would always get a lot of blowback if I was out for something, someone else taught. There was always a little blowback. Or even now, I'll have, our front desk is a big strip. Stacy will be down at the register, and people walk past her and be like, "Yeah, I just wanted to get a T-shirt." And I'm like, "Cool, go see Stacy." And I don't mean to.
yeah.
It's almost like I'm not trying to be rude, but I'm doing emails or prepping my lesson plan. Her job is to get you the T-shirt, and
Right. Yeah.
she'll be staring at him like, "Hey, I'm right here." But it's very hard. When I realized that I was going to have to learn to do that, to the delegating part
Hmm.
with the painting company or the martial arts school to grow to the next level, it's hard.
It is.
It,
Oh
it
my
is still
gosh.
something that I figured a lot of things out in business, but I'm still really working hard on that one because you're putting your trust in them, you're putting your livelihood into another person's hands, especially if you ever want to go on vacation and like you said with the brick and mortar, I mean, it's hard to have select hours.
Oh, yeah.
And with the availability of social media, everybody can tell you how they feel about select hours or whatever
Oh,
else in
yeah.
a heartbeat.
And then they'll tell you something completely different and then show up on different days.
Yes.
Like, it's almost like you don't even really want to ask them for the advice, and no offense, but like, it's usually, it backfires. Like, it's
Uh-huh.
usually the opposite of what they really want. And I've
Yeah.
noticed that, like, I've been doing this for like over 6 years now. And like, I would post styles and be like, what do you guys think of these styles? And then you would bring in the styles and like nobody would buy it, but then
Yep.
they'll buy exactly what you picked out because it's you and you're the one styling it.
Yeah. I made that mistake on some items at the school. I'd get some feedback on it. Everybody would say they loved it, and then we'd sell three. Like I'd order a custom
Exactly.
something,
It's almost
and
like don't ask them.
yeah, and I've learned like, and I'll you want to get that feedback, you want to incorporate them into it, but at the same time, you're best to just make your decision, post it. I think if you're gonna ask for feedback on something like that, maybe more of as a marketing ploy to get people to comment,
Exactly.
not
Hmm.
actually,
I do that too.
yeah, because you care. Because there's always somebody, and it's one thing as a podcast, my coaching, all my stuff is growing that I'm prepping myself for is I've got friends that have 10, 20, 30,000, 50,000 followers. The amount of people that take time out of their day to go be negative,
Oh, yeah.
even with I've got like 8 subscribers on my YouTube, and I've had 5 people go on and put nasty comments, and it's silly because I would never do that, but like
Yeah.
prepping yourself for that too, that part of the growth, and
Oh, yeah.
not letting that stuff get to you.
It is hard.
It is.
It is extremely hard not to let the negative feedback because it's good, like you said, it's good engagement to ask for feedback. And if there's like a common trend, obviously I do want you to listen. And I listen to my customers when they, like, let's say they don't like a certain type of jean that doesn't have stretch to it. Like if they say, hey, I really like stretchy jeans, like over and over again, then I'm going to buy stretchy jeans.
Yeah.
But I'm going to pick out my own styles because
Yes.
if you post the pictures of exactly what you're going to be like letting them pick out, like more than likely they're not going to go with it.
Yeah. Well, or you're giving them, they're coming to you because they want your opinion.
Hmm.
A lot of the gals in town that I know that go to you, or reasons that I come up there, is your outfits and stuff. When you model stuff, it's very well put together. It's like, oh, cool. I wouldn't have thought of that combination, or that really looks cute.
Right.
I might go get that. And I think that's what a lot of people look for. I have a lot of customers like that with painting. I'll be like, you should paint it this color. And I will give them I'll be like, from my experience, here's what I'm saying. Take it or leave it.
Right. Yeah.
But sometimes people get overwhelmed. Decision making's hard.
Decision making is hard. Yeah. And also, people don't paint every day.
Yeah.
And they want it to be perfect for their
Mhm.
house, their dream. Because, I mean, paint's expensive, especially painting, having somebody
Oh,
paint
yeah.
it for you is very expensive too. And they just want it to be perfect. So I mean, they'll take your advice, but in the end, they'll ultimately pick what they really want.
Yeah.
It's the same with clothes. Clothes are not cheap either, unless you're getting,
Yeah.
the really cheap stuff off of different Chinese websites. But I mean, if you want like quality clothing that stands out and is unique, like you have to really put thought into creating like what's called a capsule wardrobe.
Okay.
A capsule wardrobe is more like you have like select pieces that interchange with each other.
Oh, okay.
And so they're usually quality pieces that you're buying from places like Nordstrom or Free People, boutiques and whatnot. And so they interchange and they all kind of go together. And so it's a way that people save money and also interchange their wardrobe
I
that
think
way.
people don't even think about that sometimes. I guess so. Growing up, my dad was really into clothes. He taught me a lot about clothes. But when I worked at American Eagle, that was our big thing, was layering and
Hmm.
building multiple outfits out of a couple items. I
Yeah.
had to purchase a lot of clothes for doing the podcast and speaking and different things I do. It was quite the investment because with painting and teaching martial arts, I have a whole lot of hoodies. That was it.
Yeah.
Hoodies,
It's kind
track
of,
pants, and a couple pair of jeans. And so I just started building stuff. And I'm like, listen, I don't have tons of money to do this. So I was like, okay, I'll get this shirt. It'll go under that sweater or this suit,
hmm
but I can switch it. So everything's kind of got a flow to it and I can
right.
mix and match all
Mix
the
and match.
time. And that helps. But
I'm Julie Forster with Crafty Midwestern Mommy, your local boutique embroidery and fabric store. I sell fabric as well as sewing notions and also teach classes. And then we also, on the other side of our business, do machine embroidery, custom apparel for local businesses, and just personalized gifts. Again, the store's name is Crafty Midwestern Mommy, and that's how you can find us on all social media platforms as well as our website.
I have I have some experience in that, but I know that like my wife would be completely lost at that's not her thing.
Right.
So that's why they come to someone like you. They can show them, here, do this. Oh, let's switch it up and do that. You last time we were in there, we were returning stuff that I picked out that she shot down immediately, which were super cute. She just was like, I am not wearing that right now.
Right. Yeah.
And you were throwing some different things. She's like, oh, I love that. I love that. It was
Yeah.
perfect. It helped me
And
get
that
her
never,
outfits and made her happy.
yeah, and that never insults me either. Like when they bring stuff back, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, what are you like looking for then? We can apply your credit towards whatever,
Yeah.
or I mean, you can get something else maybe when the season changes if you're not wanting to buy any more winter stuff. Because, I mean, as a boutique, we buy seasons ahead, so we switch kind of early. And right now is like the prime time for me to be switching over to spring stuff, even though
Really.
it's freezing
Yeah.
out still. But I mean, it gives me the feedback, and like if they say, oh, well, this dress it really gapped in the back, like it creates like a mental note for me to
Yeah.
know better for next time, maybe not to buy from that brand or not to buy those type of styles.
Or maybe certain body types like a certain
Hmm.
outfit better. Maybe, there's so much that goes into it. And I know from sizing t-shirts and uniforms and all that stuff, man, you just never know with people. They may look one size
Oh yeah,
and not fit it at all. I've got employees that are just really tall, so they wear extra larges, whereas they might be 140 pounds. I would never
yeah,
have guessed them an extra large. Like, no, 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 I'm really tall. I got to have this, or different. Everybody's body type clothing fits them different.
I know, and it's so hard. And I think that's why people get discouraged too, and then
Yes.
they don't buy themselves nice things, and then they're in panic mode when they have to go to a wedding or have to get pictures taken. And then they show up in my store and they're like, "Hi, Taylor, can you dress me, please?"
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's my specialty. I do a lot of like on the fly stuff. Like you come to me same day, like 2 hours before your wedding that you're supposed to go to, and I'll find you an outfit for sure. I will find you something that makes you feel good, which I think is hilarious because people do it all the time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They'll show up an hour before a concert and be like, yeah, I'm going to go see Morgan Wallen or, whatever's in town that week. And I just really want like just an easy like country outfit or like something that fits the vibe of the artist. If it's a rap artist or, usually a lot of it's country
Yeah, it's
music
country.
or
Yeah.
whatnot. But
I've seen the tags. I've seen the people tagging you and
yeah.
stuff at this concert, that concert over the summer. Thanks for the outfit. Yeah.
Right. Or they'll
No.
come in, do you have the tall boots?
Yeah. Well, so when you go for your next season, so like you said, you're going into spring,
Mhm.
how soon do you start like looking into that and picking out what you're wanting to get? Like, is there, like with me with martial arts, if I'm wanting to focus a little more on a certain thing, I might check out some different online pages that I go to for coaching or some friends of mine stuff, or, my life is pretty much, coaching content, martial arts content. I've even started following some painters and some painting stuff. Like, do you have like, do you spend a lot of your free time working on the outfits and coming up with your
Yes.
styles that you're going to carry? I mean, you have a very specific feel to your place, so I would
Right.
assume you do that.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So as far as like the buying process and like planning and whatnot, I would say for season changes, I mean, you're going to be buying at least like 3 months ahead of time, if
Yeah.
not even some vendors release stuff a year in advance too,
Wow, really?
which is really cool because then you have something on pre-order for like a year and then you forget that you even pre-ordered it and then it comes in the mail and you're like, oh, this is great. Like, I love this. Or you're disappointed. Um, so, I mean, it is several months in advance, and I also sprinkle in new styles like every few weeks too to kind of fill the store when it seems kind of light as
Yeah.
well. So, and then, I mean, trends are always changing all the time.
Yeah.
As soon as something hits TikTok or like a certain influencer's page, I mean, you got to be on it.
That's what I was
And
gonna say. Is that what you stay up on that? Oh,
oh, yeah,
this is gonna be hot. We need to
yes.
focus this direction.
And it's best if you have turnaround within like a couple of weeks, typically. Like,
Wow.
let's say, I mean, a good example is like Hailey Bieber style stuff. Anything that Hailey Bieber wears within like a week or two, like, I mean, places like Shein and Temu have dupes of it, but boutiques, it does take a little bit longer, and you want to be like the first on
Yeah.
the fly to have that item because it's so trendy, which I think is really interesting. But it's all about buying all the time and making sure that you have good inventory flow, and which includes having stable cash flow because you have to have
Yes.
money to buy this inventory. And I think that's one thing that people don't understand about having a storefront is there's a lot of liability. And um, I mean, like you said, I have a lot of stuff in my storefront.
Yes,
I
you
would
do.
estimate anywhere from like $20,000 to $30,000 worth of inventory at
Yeah.
any given time. And I mean, when you're starting with like $100, like it takes time to build that up. You have to get the cash flow to do that. Um,
Well, and they don't realize, like you said, the liability you have. With us at the school, we'll order a certain design on something, and I've in the past gotten a really good deal if I bought 100 of
oh
something.
yeah, like bulk
Yes,
pricing.
but I sat on them for 3 years. That's why last year at the parade we gave out all sorts of stuff because the
Oh,
design fell. People didn't really care for it. I was
okay.
on a big Kobe Bryant kick and listened to a lot of his content, so I did some purple and gold and put some quotes on it, and it just did not go over that well
Yeah,
as well as I thought it would have. I wanted
right.
to change things up.
And
So we
that's
gave it away. And it was either that or it just sit there and collect dust because people are like, well, when's the new stuff coming? Because we will do like a new custom theme every 6 months or something.
right.
But you have to, at any given time, I might have to order $10,000 in gear, shin pads, boots, hoodies, t-shirts. And then when you don't have a medium, they're like, well, when are you going to have a medium in? It's
Mhm.
like, well, it's going to be a minute.
It's
I
gonna be a
can't.
minute. I gotta sell the rest of
Yes,
this.
I gotta clear some stuff out because we're in such an Amazon Prime mind
Hmm.
space these days.
Right. And almost with what you do, if you could even do like a like drop shipping situation, maybe that might work. But I mean, they don't understand that you're just keeping this inventory on hand. And when you have stale inventory, it's really hard to get rid of it,
Yeah.
especially in the boutique world. And I
Oh, I
mean,
bet.
it's just you have to either mark it down or do like what they call like mystery bags, where you do like a set price and put
Mhm.
like 5 or 6 items in a bag and like give them a bag of
Is
smalls or whatever.
is that why and this is something I thought the other day, I noticed about every single brand out there now that sells goods is doing some type of boxes where you can
Mm,
get 39.95, you get a box every month. And I figured that was probably a way they get rid of stale inventory.
yes,
I
that.
thought that was a great idea. I remember when the first one popped up, but that's all they did. And then I started noticing like more and more brands were doing that to where you could sign up for something. I'm like, oh, this is genius. Say 2,000 people signed up for that box. They're making good money and they're cleaning stuff out that's collecting dust.
Right. I've noticed boutique owners go one of two ways with the subscription boxes. So they'll either have the owner like hand pick and curate something, like where you know
Hmm.
that you're getting something that the owner like really recommends and like has high reviews of, Or they'll throw in like stale inventory like
Yeah.
that too.
Well, yeah, you've got, yeah, because, oh man, I can't remember the first one that started doing it. It was a men's clothing thing. And you could go on, you filled all this stuff out.
Are you talking about men's dress clothes
No, it
or?
was casual. It was like jeans but there were some polos and stuff. They were one of the first ones, maybe not to do it, but one of the first ones I found.
Mhm.
But I remember it was one of those where you logged in, you filled out a questionnaire, your personal stylist type stuff. And yeah, about the curated stuff, I bet that would be big.
Right.
I mean, I could see people doing that to have you do a hand curated box. I mean, I could
Right.
totally see
I've
that.
thought about it. It's on my to-do list. Like basically how you would curate it would be like maybe you'll pick out one nice dress and then a pair of
Yeah.
earrings and then maybe some like swag stuff like John Taylor branded whatnot or a candle or room spray that month or like you curate it and make it like this little special treat for
Yeah.
them every single month. And that's really cool. But also, if you can get rid of stale inventory, that's a great way to move it. I was also going to say, with you giving out like your stale inventory out at the parade, that's a way that you can write it off your
And
taxes.
it's marketing. That
Right.
was the biggest thing for me, was just it was sitting at the school, and I'm a the minimalist. I just can't stand all that inventory sitting there. Like if stuff sits for a couple months, I
Oh, I
immediately throw
know.
it on a clearance rack because I want to get new stuff in. I want my students to look good.
Right.
And for me, it was all the stuff had a logo on it, so we did it as giveaways at our booth, whatever. It was just a way for us to clear stuff out, but then also get the brand out there. At Night of 1,000 Stars, I
Right.
counted 8 kids walking by our booth that did not go to my school wearing my hoodie. So
Oh,
I was like,
nice.
"There's a win. There's a win," because
Yeah.
we
Free
hadn't had
marketing.
we hadn't had a cold date, or I was out people watching in Troy to catch it, and I was like, "All right,
Yeah.
cool. I feel better," because we gave a lot of stuff out, but I mean, it was just piling up. It was getting ridiculous, and
Right.
people forget about that liability with a small business owner. We're not millionaires, so
No,
you're going
definitely
out
not.
on a limb. If you find a new trend and something that you think's really hot and you buy a lot of it, you've got to make sure you can move it. So that
Exactly.
comes with your experience then.
Hmm.
And is that something have you ran into that before, where you pick something and it just didn't go, or have
Oh,
you had
yeah.
pretty good eye for it?
Absolutely. I've gotten really good at it about picking pieces that I know will work, but in the beginning, oh my gosh, I would have so much stale inventory. And something that opened my eyes once was I heard a boutique owner say, when you walk into the room of inventory and you look at everything, that's $20 bills sitting there. So if you have,
Yes.
300 pieces, they're all $20 bills right
Yeah.
in front of you. And like, what do you want to do with those $20 bills? You have to at least get your $20 back.
Yes.
You can't just set on the stale inventory and just let your $20 go to waste and not have that cash flow to get new inventory in the store that will actually make you money and give you better inventory
Yes.
turn. Um, but yeah, so a couple ways that I go about things that don't sell good. You can always restyle it, take pictures of it again. You could
Like
put it,
mix and match the outfit or
yeah,
something. Yeah,
like
that's a
if
good idea.
you maybe feel like you dropped the ball on taking the pictures, or maybe you just didn't style it great, you can just rephotograph it. Or, I mean, you could always, there's like inventory exchange groups on Facebook between different
Really?
boutique owners too. So that is one way you can go about it as well. But I would exhaust all avenues before I would take that route where you're like selling it to another boutique owner at cost, because you're basically losing money because you're paying for shipping on it too. So selling it to them at cost is really, I mean, you're only getting a couple dollars shorted, but I
Yeah.
mean, if you're doing that all the time, what's the point in having a business?
Yeah, I've had friends that were trying to build up businesses with, say it was martial arts apparel or whatever, and a lot of people they knew were going, "Hey, want to wholesale your product?
Right.
Let's get some in here." And we sat down. And I broke the math down for him. I'm like, "You're in the beginning, you've got to sell everything and make a profit. You can't start wholesaling out your custom designs, because until you get to certain volumes, your price point just sucks."
Right. And margins are so important.
Yes.
That's one thing I've noticed new boutique owners like don't focus on is they want to be the cheapest and they want to be like the newest to the game, but it's if you're not making livable margins, your business is just a hobby at that
Yes.
point. It's not a real business. So you have to have good margins and be able to look at your inventory in a cycle. So is it at a 30-day cycle, a 60-day cycle, or 90-day? And then you can mark down accordingly. Or you can do a blanket sale. You can do grab bags, mystery bags like I was talking about to get things moving and out of your store basically
Well,
cuz
and having that understanding too of what it really costs you.
yeah.
That's something I find people don't grasp.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
it's this much. It's like, yes, but I spent this much time curating, ordering, inventorying. There's a lot more that goes to it.
Mhm.
We'll bid paint jobs, and people are like, well, it's just some paint. It's $30 or
It's
$20
just
a
some
gallon,
paint.
whatever it is. It's like, yes, but that employee drove there in a company van with work comp insurance, all the materials and stuff in it. I had somebody one time, I went to do a metal building for a company. It was way out on some property, like several acres out, no power, no nothing. I have a trailer that is outfitted with a gas sprayer. I drove out, I cleaned the building, I sprayed it, and I left in like 3 hours.
Mhm.
And they were upset. They're like, that was a lot of money for that. And I was like, you're
For
right.
just 3 hours.
Yes, but I'm like,
Right, but
the
you're the
truck and
pro.
trailer alone was $75,000 with the truck, the trailer, and the equipment in it. My 20 years of experience
Exactly.
to
You're
know to purchase that, and the product was expensive. I was like, it really wasn't that cheap. If someone else would have came, they would have spent hours running extension cords,
Mhm.
hours dragging their equipment out there because maybe they didn't. A lot of guys in the painting fields drive Hondas. They have little cars. They couldn't have drove all the way back on the property.
Right.
And people forget that sometimes, like all the other time that goes into it, they just look at it from one angle.
Like, oh, I
And
really paid that for 3 hours. Like, I can't believe I did that. But really, you're paying for the skill and
yes,
all the things that come along with it. And like you said, benefits for your employees, the truck, the liability insurance, the insurance on the actual vehicle. I mean, I'm sure you probably have to have liability insurance on your equipment.
yeah, oh yeah, well, everything's covered. It's
Right.
ridiculous. The amount of stuff we have to pay in the background is astronomically more than I expected it would be. I knew it wouldn't be cheap to do it right, but it's much more than most people think. And that's like with you. You've got the storefront, you've got the clothes, you've got help, you've got your time getting
Hmm.
everything and all that stuff that goes into it to where it hurts when you have to cut it down and
Oh,
clearance
yeah.
it because it's now people will be like, well, but it only costs you this much. Yes, dollar bill only cost me that much, but here's everything that went with it. My time, it does hurt.
Right.
What when you got into it, like what kind of sparked you getting into just doing this in general? What gave you that? Was it something like since young, you thought about, or maybe you always were like an independent person that wanted to work for
Oh, I
yourself
wasn't.
or
I was so shy growing up. I tell people this all the time. I wasn't born to be a leader. I had
yeah,
to learn how to be a leader. I had to learn how to like speak in front of people. When I was like 18, 19, I couldn't even call the doctor and
yeah,
set up a doctor's appointment. Like I was so shy. So this was something that I had to really build up in myself and get going.
that's awesome.
But I mean, from a young age, I was always good at clothing, and like my grandmother is probably the reason why I was so good at it. She would always take us shopping, and it was always exciting and it was a treat. And I guess I never really understood what boutiques were because I mean, there really wasn't a lot when I was younger, and we mostly had just like chain stores,
Yeah.
and I would shop at places like Justice and
Mm,
whatnot when I was a little girl, and then on to Hollister, Abercrombie, and I always thought that outfits were a way that you could express yourself, and I actually ended up winning best dressed in high school, so um,
So you had a knack for it early.
yeah,
Yeah.
very early. And like I wore some really crazy, crazy stuff in high school. I was also emo too, which kind of adds on to it. But if you look back on our yearbooks, like I'm wearing like the craziest stuff and I love it. I love that people remember me by that. And I just recently had my 10-year high school reunion and they were talking about some of my outfits and it just makes me laugh. But
That's good. You made a mark,
a
huh?
lasting impression. But and then when I saw, so I did see another boutique that was just like a Facebook group one day, and she was just like invoicing people through Square. She didn't even have a website or anything. And I thought to myself, well, I think I could do this and I could find styles that I like and I could keep one piece of the pack because a lot
Yeah.
of the clothing, it comes in packs. So it's usually comes as 222, so 2 small, 2 medium, 2 large typically is one pack. I thought, okay, well, this is how I'll get myself cheap clothes and
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
just keep one. Genius idea. And then I'll just sell the rest. And so I started off as a Facebook group. I didn't have a website. I literally would invoice people to their email and like weigh their packages on my little scale in my back office, and I had a rack of clothes in my guest bedroom. Like, it started really, really small. And then, I mean, I'm self-taught with everything. So I made my own website. I have done all my own marketing, and that includes like Facebook ads, Google Analytics, I mean, like email
That's awesome.
marketing and everything. And so I was able to grow my group. I think currently my group has, I think about 8,000 people in it. And then
Wow.
my business page actually has a completely different audience too, um, due to the Facebook ads. I think I have about 8,000 followers on there. And then I have about, I think, 9,000 on Instagram.
Well, now how do you set up like your Facebook ads? Like if you're doing something, are there specific keywords? Like
Mhm.
not you don't have to give away all your secrets, but I'm just saying like do you do that all yourself and do you
Yes.
go coast to coast with it? Like
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. And I also target certain states that I've noticed more business out of. It's funny
Yeah.
because a lot of my bigger states are like Texas, Arizona, New Mexico,
I can see
and
that.
California, which kind of makes sense. Utah people
Mhm.
love my
Yeah.
clothes. Utah is very trendy. It's actually where a lot of my favorite boutiques are located. But so I'll target those states, and then I'll target people that have interest in certain things that I think would be common with my brand.
Yeah.
So things like Free People and Anthropology, and like stores like Altered State. And then if you want to target like music, it would be probably like Zach Bryan and
Yeah.
like the big thing, Morgan Wallen, stuff like that. So that's how I target audiences. And then I already know my demographics too, because you can pull that off of Facebook as well and see, that 97% of your following is women between this
Yeah. Oh yeah,
age,
yeah, for sure.
which is, I mean, that's how I basically have done it. And Facebook ads, they're not cheap, so you have to really know what you're doing.
I'd say when you're going that big, mine, anytime I run something, it's just like 10 miles. I've got a pre-made
Right.
10-mile bubble that I just have to adjust a little bit, and it barely touches Highway 79. It stays just north of Wentzville, and that's for the
That's perfect
school.
though,
Or yeah, and that's
because
mainly
you're
for the dojo. I don't run a lot of stuff with the painting company because a lot of our stuff is my best leads are word of mouth. Oh, hey,
exactly.
call Matt. He's my painting guy. Those are my best leads with normally a customer that is interested. But I think the important thing here with what you're going through is you're self-taught.
Mhm.
I meet so many people in business that think they've got to have a degree or all this
Oh, yeah.
experience or all this other stuff.
I have
And
a high school diploma.
me
I
too.
didn't go to
And
school.
yeah, and I hated school when I went. And most of us just went, you know what? I want to do this. I'm going to learn.
Mhm.
And there's so much content out there now to learn. I've been researching all sorts of stuff for public speaking, working with a coach, but also doing a lot of my own research on how to get on stages, how to get booked. You just have to have the passion to do it.
Exactly.
I remember my first phone call with Google AdWords. I was like, oh, what's this AdWords thing? I'm going to check this out. And we actually found out my website had been hacked
Oh.
well, GoDaddy had been hacked.
Mm.
And if you Googled BoyerAcademy.com and clicked on it, or at the time I think it was MasterMatt.com, it took you to Michael Kors handbags.
Oh,
But
jeez.
when I would go to check my website, I would type it in, it took you to the website.
Right.
And we found it, but I still remember calling them being like, what is this? I don't know what this is. How does this work with them? So knowing your brand, knowing the
Right.
type of people, keeping track of that stuff, you don't have a marketing degree, but it seems to be working great.
Right, exactly. And that's kind of the difference between our businesses too, is yours benefits a lot off of local
Yeah.
word of
Oh
mouth.
yeah.
I mean, you're not shipping things out to other states
Yeah.
really
No.
ever. Yeah. So, and also networking, and I
Yeah.
see you guys in all the networking groups, and that's amazing. I wish I would like sit down and really like focus on that stuff more, but I'm
I'm proud I
always,
got you on here. I
yeah,
didn't think,
thank
I was like, I'm gonna
you.
message her. Let's see if she'll do it. Cause we've talked about the networking stuff and you're like, I need to. And, I was like, well, I'll see if she'll come on the podcast and chat.
For sure. Yeah, I'm always happy to. But I mean, going back to your Facebook ads, and Google Analytics is really good for local people too, because if they type in, martial arts near me,
Yeah.
you want to be the first one that
Yep.
pops up on the top. And of course, things like reviews on Google are huge. You don't want someone leaving you a bad review and saying that you're a jerk and that you are a know-it-all
Yeah.
and all this stuff. Like, they want to bring their kids to you and you teach them.
Oh, it's very important to police that stuff and watch it.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
got a couple bad ones from because I actually built the painting company up very large and realized I didn't have a Google. And so I actually
Oh.
got a bad review one time on the academy for painting. And it was a silly one because the guy wanted us to remove from our painting contract that we can sue him in Lincoln County. Because it
Oh.
says in there that we reserve the right, something my lawyer put in. He was like, I want a fighting chance. And I'm like, no, you're already planning not to pay me. I'm not going to.
A
And I
fighting
refused to paint for him. So he gave me a bad review claiming that failure to basically work with the client. And I was like, yeah, that's not it, buddy. I was getting off a plane from a tournament and I left him a pretty nasty message
Right.
because those do hurt us. But
They
now
do
with
hurt.
me building up my coaching, I'm having to learn about that coast to coast and advertising around and different ways of getting because like you said, that's a big expense when you're going big like that. See,
Yeah.
I'm doing like $300 around 10 miles. Like that gets you a lot.
Oh, a lot of
But when you
coverage. Yeah.
start spreading that out across the US, then like you said, your keywords really come into play.
hmm
You know, the states or music or trends or fashion, or maybe even like if there's an icon that's rocking stuff like what you wear, maybe you want to put that name in there. Like because you're dealing with such a larger budget
Oh, yeah.
to get it out there. That's what's wild. I feel like with your two businesses are a lot like mine. I've got a painting company and this academy, two totally different things.
Right.
And really and truthfully, your brick and mortar store and your online store are two real different
Oh,
things.
yeah.
And the
They're
way
two different
you
businesses.
market and take care of them, like you said, it's a totally different beast.
Right. And I could even branch out and start carrying completely different stuff on the online store than in the storefront. But I feel like that would confuse all my local people. So I just don't. I keep
Oh yeah,
everything,
yeah.
everything that you see on the website is in the storefront. And if it's not on the floor, it's probably in the back room. You just show the picture to one of us and we'll be like, oh, okay, let me go grab that for you really fast. But I mean, what I was going to get into as well was, I mean, back to the whole like review thing, those really do hurt. And like, but you also have to view it as, you know, how often am I really getting these low
Yeah.
reviews? And I mean, I've received some spam ones that say just completely random
Oh,
things.
yeah,
And
I've got a couple of them. I have one saying I was calling kids racist names in class, and it's not even a real profile or anything else. It was something totally random. But Gary Vee did a lot of content on it. You can go through and read those. Like if I'm looking into a business, I'll go through and I can read and you can tell like a fake one.
yeah,
Even if it's a positive one, you can tell based on like a real person, the way a real person writes stuff.
right.
I personally feel it's really easy to see.
I feel like it's easy for me to spot too.
Yeah, because I'll go through
Because
clothing
you can
ones
tell
like
if it's their mom leaving them a nice review, or you can tell if it's like some spam person that's just like making something completely random up.
I had to laugh about that for like 3 weeks straight. I was posting a ton of stuff on Boyer Painting, and the only comment on everything was my mom, looks good, honey.
Looks good.
This, and I was dying. It was like week 2, and I'm like, I love the support, but people have got to be giggling and be like, every single picture, it's just his mom.
Right.
I was getting a laugh
You
out
got to
of it.
start somewhere. And usually your first purchases are typically from family members, which is awesome. But you know, family members are not going to sustain your business.
Yes.
And that's kind of one thing I like to tell new boutique owners is, you know, yeah, like that's how you get your first sales and that's how you get the ball rolling so you can buy new inventory and whatnot. But, you know, you really have to be consistent and show up for your brand and build and know your ideal client.
Yes. And actually take a conscious thought of that. I talk to a lot of painters with my coaching business that are wanting to grow it. And it's like, well, what is your client? Someone that needs paint. No. What is it? So for like me, I wanted to work with realtors. Realtors have empty houses.
Mhm.
They're professional. So they're interested in someone like me that's going to show up dressed professionally. And they're busy. So they wanted to hand it off here. And that was my pitch
They don't
to a
want to
lot
have to
of them.
babysit you either.
No, and that was my thing. Well, they only had to babysit the client. It was like when you sign with us, you're getting me. I'm going to talk to the customer about their colors. My wife is running the office. She's going to go back and forth on dates and handle them. We're going to coddle them. We're going to take care of them.
Right.
And if they decide they want something ridiculous, I'm going to call you and give you a heads up.
Mhm.
Or if they're doing something that may hinder the sale, I'm going to give you a tip and say, hey, you might want to call your client. They
Right.
want us to paint the doors black. And I know I personally like that, but it's not a big selling point.
Hmm.
but I knew the clientele I wanted when I started building the business to go after them. When I opened the martial arts school 15 years ago, I was just like, whoever wants to come into class. And I read a lot of content that told you to know your client, but I was broke and had my first business and just wanted anyone in
Oh,
there.
you're just, yeah, willing
You're
to
just,
do
yeah,
anybody. Like, if they'll give you money and get you like going as far as your business, like, why not take them? But, with time, that's how you really refine what you're after.
yeah.
And I would not say, like, in the beginning, if you scroll back on my Instagram or like my boutiques page, I used to carry some ugly stuff, some real ugly stuff, and not flattering either. I had no idea what I was doing in the beginning, which is so
It's funny how we
funny.
look back and think that. I do the same thing. I look back at
You
classes,
just
different things I did. I'm
cringe.
like, what was I, why did I post that? Yeah.
It's like the worst ever. But
Well,
and that's how you get feedback and how you
yeah.
refine and grow. And if you're not growing and getting better, then you're just going to stick with what you started with. And basically, you'll only ever get to the point of where you're at. And I don't know what I'm trying to say, but you're basically stumping your growth at that point.
You are. If you don't look back in 5 years and go, wow, I can't believe I did that, you're not growing.
Exactly.
If you're in the same spot where you still think that stuff looks good or that ad or the way you wrote this or did that is perfect, you have not grown
Oh,
because
yeah.
there's just no way to do it. And one of the things too that I think a lot of businesses left to learn, like you said there about grandma being your first sale or family members,
Hmm.
I think the quote is more clients will become friends and friends will become clients.
Yes.
That is
Spot
something to learn
on.
too. I've had so many people reach out over the years. Oh, I want to bring my kids to you for martial arts. I'm like, yeah, you live 35 minutes away. Why don't you go to so and so school, one of my
Mhm.
friends' schools? Oh no, I want to come to you. It's like you're not going. You're going to drive out here once and be like, damn, I'm not going to drive that far.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas I've got students and people, like a lot of my leadership staff. These students have been with me for 8 to 10 years. They're family. I support
Right.
everything they do. Their families, their immediate families. We've traveled the globe doing martial art tournaments. They've
Mm,
become friends.
absolutely.
Whereas I have very few friends that have joined my school and become clients. Like I've had a lot of them come through. Everybody's been very supportive over the years, but not a lot have stuck with it. It's a very interesting change there.
Absolutely.
And
And it's the same for my business too. I'm not sure. So I'm not from Lincoln
yeah,
County. I am from Springfield, Missouri. And I moved here to Lincoln County about 7 years ago. And I had zero friends, not a single friend when I moved here. And so I started my store and I was like, how am I going to grow clientele out here? All of my clients are back in Springfield and I'm just shipping to them. Like, this is not a good idea. Well, I started networking and getting to know people. And I will say, like, every girlfriend that I have, they shopped in my store at one point.
yes,
Like, that's how we became good friends. And it's so beautiful and I love it. And like I know everybody in Lincoln County now because of my store.
yes.
And it's amazing to me that I went from having zero friends, was a nobody, to like having a business that I know like a good majority of the area.
Yeah, it's
I
wild.
just love it. It's so
It's it
awesome.
it's the neat thing about Lincoln County and about the area is that we're able to do that stuff.
Yeah.
I was
You're
shocked
very
when
lucky.
we launched this podcast. I was like, well, let's see what happens. And that video's at 10,000 views. We're booked out for over 4 months, and I've honestly got a list of about 50 people. I haven't even reached out yet because I know as business owners, planning stuff 5 months in advance isn't reasonable.
Oh yeah.
So I've just stopped. I told everybody, I was like, if you really want on, shoot me a DM, but I'm not going to constantly blow people up
Yeah.
because there's just so much. But I'm not from Lincoln County either. I grew up in O'Fallon.
Okay.
I had come out here and taught with my instructor school years ago, and I always loved the area.
Mhm.
When I branched out, I actually opened my second location for my school was here. And I decided I didn't want two locations. I really just enjoy being present in the school. I don't want a chain. At one point, I thought I wanted one in Wentzville, Troy, and Warrington, because if you lay them out on a map, if you advertise, they would all intersect each other
Yeah.
and they're all a nice little drive from each other. They're far enough that your clientele wouldn't jump, but you could travel around. And then after having two, I realized I really just wanted one that's not where I'm at in life, where I want a bunch of different schools. I like to know all my students.
Right.
But starting out in Troy, not knowing really anyone and growing to, I thought I knew everybody until we launched this podcast. I have talked to so many people already that I had no clue were there,
Mhm.
or I knew the business, but I couldn't put a face with it, or vice versa. I've had people message me that had businesses I didn't know because they kind of keep it out of their personal feed, or
Right.
I had never picked up on it. It's really been amazing, and we live in a unique community that really supports each other.
I
I
agree. I was going to say that
Yep.
too. It's amazing because, I mean, I'm not sure if it was because, I mean, Springfield's like the third largest city in all of Missouri, but living in Troy and being in Lincoln County, the support is just endless. And like everybody wants to see you win. And it's just amazing. Like, I truly love living here and I don't want to live anywhere else. I love having my store in Lincoln County. I plan to stay. If a second storefront's in the cards, maybe down the line, but who knows if I would even have the sense of community that I have
Yeah.
here in Lincoln County.
No, I agree. After COVID, I had a lot of people reach out because a lot of martial arts schools went under,
Yeah.
and we were signing up. I mean, I had record classes. It was ridiculous. It was overwhelming, the response we had. I had split off. I had an instructor come back that had been with me for years, and she was doing classes in the back. I was up front. It was just unbelievable. And I had people reach out, like, what are you guys doing out there? Blah, blah. I was like, we support each other. We're local. I do things in the community and give back. And therefore, I have so many people come in. They're like, no, we wanted to train here because of the things you do. Like, people want to go and shop with you because they come in and they meet you and they know you, and you're this cute little boutique right there on Main Street, and they love it, and your quality and everything kind of compounds. You can't do one thing without the other. You can't just
Right.
network
You have
and
to
have a
do
shitty
multiple
product.
things
Yeah,
right.
you have to
Yeah.
do multiple things right, but if you're doing everything right, the community really supports it,
They
and
do.
it's amazing. And honestly, I'm like just drunk in love with doing this podcast because
Mm.
I'm getting to sit down and meet people and talk to people in a long-term format, learn a little bit about what they did, how they got there. And how old are you?
I'm turning 29 in like a week.
29 a week.
Yeah.
Well, happy early birthday.
Thank you.
29 years old, you got an online business, the boutique, which is super popular. Every lady in town knows who you are. Like, that's a huge achievement. I
Thank
opened my first
you.
business at 28, and that's a young age for
Oh,
people
yeah.
to be going into business.
Oh, yeah.
And to have the success that you've had and grow it like that is awesome. I mean, and like you said, self-taught.
Right.
That's awesome. That's unheard of.
Thank you. Yeah.
And
And I'm sure, I mean, at the time you probably weren't married, or were you married?
No, I wasn't. Nope.
And you didn't have kids or anything. So, like, having to grow, like, I'm sure that grew you as a person
Fast.
tremendously.
It-
Like,
it-
becoming a business owner and then a dad, or meeting Casey and then becoming a dad, and
yes.
then juggling all those duties on top of having a family and valuing family time.
Well, yeah, when you're single and own your own business, you're just doing it for you. You could do whatever. I mean,
Right.
there were nights I slept under the desk, whatever. I only had to worry about putting food on the table for me.
For you.
I had moved
Mhm.
back home with my dad. But you're right, it does grow you at a young age. I
Right.
found a big disconnect with my friends
Right.
because a lot of them were working,
They were still
maybe their
partying.
first job. Yep, partying. And I would try to party. I did a little, but I didn't, I had someone one time, it's like, all you ever do is talk about you and your business. I'm like, that's all I know. I
Right.
live this 24/7.
It's your livelihood.
Yes. And that was a hard one for me because there was that detachment there. And finally I just quit going out. I just gave up on it. I would hang out at home, or,
Mhm.
that's how Casey and I got together. We would, I kept getting invited to a lot of birthday parties at the school, and it was really weird being this single guy going to them. So I started riding with her,
Mhm.
and we realized that we hit it off really
That's
well.
awesome.
And neither one of us, she had already had kids, so she wasn't in the party stage either. And it just worked out. It was something neither one of us expected, but it's wild. And I'm pretty sure, were you married yet when you opened, or how did that work for you?
I wasn't married quite yet,
Yeah.
but I think I was engaged when I opened,
Yeah.
and it was just, I grew a lot as a person, and also running a business on top of having an online store was extremely stressful. There were moments where I took breaks, like I would take maybe like a month hiatus from the online store because I just needed the mental break, but
Yeah.
through that adversity, like, I was able to figure out ways to refine what I was doing so I didn't have to take breaks. And I mean, I feel like burnout is real, especially with boutiques and small business in general. And there's days that you want to give up, but you just have to find the resources to redo what you're doing and take whatever is burning you out off of your plate.
Yeah, and you have to watch too, because a lot of people will rob you of your time.
Hmm.
Customers will, just abuse it
Oh,
sometimes. Or as
yeah,
you start growing and having more employees, you'll that's a whole different beast.
it is.
They're dealing with that. You've got, how many do you have now?
I have two right
Two.
now.
So
Yeah.
that's
And then
where
me.
I started with two, and that's then as you grow that part, it's everything is a new learning experience, and it's wild.
It is.
And we're crazy for doing it. I tell
Oh,
people all
yeah.
the time, I'm like, I got to be certifiably nuts for doing this.
Yeah.
And then wanting to add more to it. But at the same time, when I worked a regular job, I used to look at it down the road, and I was like, at this point, I've learned all my duties and everything I can really do here. I can't just show up and just repaint houses
Mhm.
or work on cars every day. There's going to be a point where I've got to take it to the next level. And that's when I opened Boyer Painting, as I was like,
Right.
I need another challenge.
Right. Do you feel like you were a natural born leader, like from a
Looking
young
back on
age?
it, I wouldn't say I was a natural born leader. I was extremely shy. One of the things I'm doing with my public speaking is I dive really into being overweight as a teen,
Okay.
being extremely shy, not very talkative.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it's wild how how you change, how you have to change. But I always had a hustle. Like I was always either fixing up bikes and selling them, selling gum. There was always something I was
Something.
doing on the side because my parents always talked about being entrepreneurs. They had a salon at one point, and but I never really was given that. Like no one ever pulled me aside and said, "Hey, read this book, and you need to do
Right. You need to
this."
do this, and this.
Yeah, so I try to do that with like my students as they get in their teen years. I'll tease them. I'm like, "What are you thinking about doing?" They're like, "This." I'm like, "You ever thought about these over here? Because I could really see you doing that." And
Yeah.
I tell them like, "I'm not trying to force you. I wish someone would have pulled like my dad always told me to be self-employed, but to be self-employed because he hated his job. There wasn't
Yep.
be self-employed
Same
because you're
here.
good at it.
Hmm.
I don't know. Did you experience any of that when you were younger? Like thinking that you said you were shy and stuff. Like, did anyone ever tell you you should run a boutique?
No,
Yeah.
never. They mostly would just tell me, "Hey, you need to talk a little bit louder." I was so soft spoken, but like I said, I wasn't a natural born leader, and I had to learn how to become who I am
Yes.
today. And I used to see my dad. My dad's an entrepreneur as well
Uh-huh.
down in Springfield, and he owns multiple properties and kind of has his hand in everything. He's also a professional bass fisherman,
Oh,
so like he
cool.
wins like tournaments and whatnot. It's actually really cool. But watching him, and he would always tell me that I should select the job that pays me the most and works me the least amount of hours.
Yeah.
And he would tell me stuff like never to accept a salary job and whatnot, which is such old thinking.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
he never really like encouraged me to be like self-employed. I think because I was just so shy as a kid. But he's really proud of me today,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
That's good. And it's amazing though at how we change for it. And I think that's one of the big misconceptions that a lot of people think is they had to have been born with it. I was
Yeah,
terrified
I
of
would have expected
speaking.
you to be a natural born
Oh no,
leader.
I was super shy. I was overweight. And when I started teaching martial arts more, I liked teaching and I liked doing that stuff, but I struggled with it. I had a lot of anxiety with it. I would get
Mhm.
really nervous. I remember first time teaching a big class, one of my buddies, Keith, was like, "Matt, breathe." And I
Breathe.
was like, "Oh shit. Okay, gotta have air, don't I? Okay, wow." But then and it's so cliche because every success coach out there says it, but you gotta get in the reps. I
Hmm.
talk about in my speech that I'm putting together for my comp in February at American Eagle. I went in and I was trying to get the position in the back room folding jeans. I was like, this will be perfect. Like I
Yeah, because
got
you
the
didn't want to be
job
up
there
front.
to break being shy, but then I
Hmm.
was still like, hey, that back, I could fold jeans.
Hmm.
And they're like, they made me stand at the front door and push the new fragrance on everyone.
Yeah.
And I talk
So
about
you
how
had to go up to people
I
up
had to,
close.
and I had to do it every day. And then when I went to Jiffy Lube, I was like, I'll just, throw me downstairs, man. I just want to be a grease monkey, work on cars. And
Hmm.
Dan was like, nope, you're going to go on the computer. I was like, I had to talk to people here too. Damn. I thought I was going to work on cars. And that's all I did. I became an assistant manager early, store manager, fast tracked up to that. Um, but no one ever pulled me aside and said, hey, you know what? You got a real knack.
Right.
Why
Yeah.
don't you hone this? Like I had some people kind of give me a little bit of advice and I remember a lot of it, but my instructor Vern pushed me in a way, but never there, like with my one instructor, she has a great public speaker at 17, and I'm always reminding her of different things. I'm like, hey, you're really good at this.
Yeah.
Let's
It's
work
nice
on
to
that.
hear that, and it's nice to feed that into the youth too, because you could have probably used that when you were a kid.
Well, and
I could have too.
yeah, and I wouldn't have it any other way because of what I've learned. But what if?
Right.
What if someone said, you know what? I think you, like, I had people like hire me for jobs and stuff. Like, we want you to come manage our restaurant, or we want you to do that. But I never picked up on the fact that, hey, I kind of got a knack at this people thing.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's like the manager at American Eagle, instead of getting mad at me and accusing me of stealing his sales, he could have looked at my stats and been like, oh, wow, because everybody's run through the credit card. They know who they are. This guy's killing it with these older ladies and some of these other clients. Okay, let's hone this. This dude's figured something out and he doesn't even realize it.
Right.
You know, I try to do that with my clients, my customers, and then my students at the school. Look at what they're good at. Are they naturally distance oriented? Hey, have you ever thought about point sparring? Or, you know, you're really a perfectionist. You'd probably like doing forms, because forms is all about perfecting stuff.
Okay.
Trying to watch that in people is something I try to do, because like yourself, you know, people did things that guide me, but no one ever said it. And someone may have actually said it and I didn't catch it. My instructor, Vicky, was always foot in my ass, keeping me straight as a young man. Like maybe they did see something, but I didn't pick up on it. But it has been amazing having you on today. We blew through over an hour already.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's so easy. Just sit down here and talk. Everybody gets so nervous about it. So I really appreciate you coming on. I hope you guys check out her boutique online and on Main Street in Troy. Go in and see all the great stuff. Thank you guys. Like and subscribe, and we will catch you on the next episode. Thank you to our sponsors, K. Flynn Insurance, elect Bruce Becker for the Lincoln County Fire Board, and the Crafty Midwestern Mommy for their continued support of the Lincoln County Podcast.